Chuck David Liddel was born on December 17th, 1969. He has a tentative striking background in Kempo, karate, kickboxing, as well as a grappling background in collegiate wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Chuck's original nickname amongst peers was the Snowman. He got the name because during one of his fights he was described as being like a snowball, white, compact, rolling and getting bigger and stronger as the fight continued. He got the nickname Iceman because he was described as having ice running through his veins. During his fights, Liddel showed no real signs of distress. He was able to stay calm and collected before, after, and during his matches. His debut was on May 15th, 1989 during UFC 17 with a decision victory. He got paid $1,000 including expenses. He coached Team Liddel, while the UFC light heavyweight champion at the time, Randy Couture, coached Team Couture. The series was a success for both Spike TV and the UFC. Both of the winners of the show, Diego Sanchez and Forrest Griffin, were members on Team Liddel and went on to have very successful careers. On April 16th, retirement came on April 18th, 2009 after 4 lost fights out of 5 and 2 KOs in a row. Dana stated, "I care about him. I care about these guys. I don't want to see anybody stick around too long. You're never going to see Chuck Liddel on the canvas again." So he got inducted into the Hall of Fame on July 10th, 2009 at the UFC 100 Fan Expo in Las Vegas, Nevada. So Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. He lost within 1 round by KO. Only a few hours after the match, UFC President Dana White declared that Chuck Liddel would not fight in the UFC ever again, with the opinions and considerations of his family and friends in mind. After losing 3 consecutive fights by knockout, Liddel declared the end of his fighting career. On December 29, 2010, at the UFC 125 press conference, Liddel announced his retirement and stated he would be taking on the position of Vice President of Business Development within the UFC. Liddel was visibly emotional at the announcement, acknowledging his retirement and at the end of his fighting career with words of farewell. "Most of all, I want to thank my fans and my family. I love this sport. I'm excited to go to this new stage in my life and keep promoting the best sport in the world, the sport I love, now that I'm retired." Liddel announced on April 14th, 2018 that he was coming out of retirement to target a 3rd fight with Tito Ortiz. The fight took place on November 24th, 2018 under Oscar de la Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions. Liddel lost the fight via knockout in the 1st round. One of the biggest critics when Liddel came out of retirement was his friend Dana White. Liddel read some of the headlines of what White had said, but believes a lot from his former boss's harsh words were misconstrued. He didn't think that Dana wasn't begging him not to fight, but he was worried about him as a true friend should be. He had no regret taking the fight, but he wanted to test himself and believed he could win. On March 3rd, 2020, Liddel announced in a TMZ interview that he has retired from mixed martial arts. He retired with a 4-fight KO losing streak, losing 7 out of his last 8 fights, which is kinda sad because he was one of the best light heavyweights that ever went to the UFC. So he had a tattoo on the side of his head. So during his senior year in 1992, him and a few roommates went to a Slayer concert and did something memorable for the concert. He decided to get a mohawk right after that. He decided also to get a head tattoo as well. The Japanese letters that spelled Koin Kan, that is his karate style, which means house of peace and prosperity. After his fighting career, he told his doctor he has balance problems, and then after one step he fell forward. He, like a lot of other athletes, have the same problem when they finish their career. The empty space when they were fighting, they always had a tight schedule, but he replaced that tight schedule with new ventures. Acting, coaching, bar business, that is the future for Chuck. A lot of articles online saying his career has taken a toll on his mental state. His speech is now filled with stutters and mumbles, lacking the clarity. There is increasing chatter from both fighters and fans alike surrounded the level of damage Chuck has sustained over his career. He has quite a history in movies as well. Chuck has a lot of history appearing in movies and television shows, usually as himself. However, his most interesting credit is that he appeared in the 1981 adaptation of The Postman Always Rings Twice. This version of James M. Cain's famous novel starred Jessica Lange, Jack Nicholson, and Angelica Huston. Chuck has an uncredited role as a Boy Scout. He was only 12 when he appeared in the film. In 2007, Chuck was the first MMA fighter to ever appear on ESPN magazine. Many credit this historical event as the thing that helped bring MMA into the mainstream. Let's look over the championship and awards Chuck has collected over his career. In the UFC, he's in the Hall of Fame since 2009. He was a UFC light heavyweight champion one time, 4 successful title defenses, knockout of the night 2 times, most knockouts in UFC light heavyweight division history of 10, International Fighting Championship. In IFC, he was a world light heavyweight champion once, and Sherdog, he was 2006 Fighter of the Year, and he is in the Mixed Martial Arts Hall of Fame of Sherdog. In the Black Belt magazine, he was 2001 NHB Co-Competitor of the Year along with Tito Ortiz. The World MMA Award man. In kickboxing, in the International Kickboxing Federation, he was an IKF Amateur International Rules US Super Heavyweight Champion, 7 by KO, 1-1 by subs, and 7-1 by decision. So before Tough fell, and in the next video we talk about Randy Couture.